Let's get right to work here. I got just a handful of things that I want to cover and get out of the way to help preface this week and give you guys an insight of, personally how I am currently seeing this week and what we need to pay attention to. So, just going to run through some prep here, team, and then we'll move on. But obviously, guys, it's August 8th to the 12th, and if we cover a handful of earnings here that I think are at least worth noting and watching, is we do have Upstart UPST after the close today. Can definitely be an interesting one. On Tuesday, guys, we got a handful here. We have Coin, Roblox, and TTD. I'm especially looking forward to Coin and TTD, but for TTD, really want to see what they say about the advertising space. We heard from Snapchat, we heard from Google. Great to hear from TTD. And then finally, guys, we have Disney on Wednesday. These aren't really, huge names that I pay too much attention to, but I love earnings season. There always could be some fun. Never know what shakes up the board, but these are the names that I'm personally watching. And then this week, guys, we have some economic data that the market definitely could be waiting for. So we'll tie that into our overall thesis here. But we have our core CPI, our inflation numbers on Wednesday morning at 8:30 before the bell, always an hour before. And then on Thursday here, we have our PPI, which is just as important, followed up by our jobless claims, which is at 8:30 as well. So those are the biggest economic events, guys, for the week. And there's a handful of news here, from the end of last week and heading into this week that I think is worth noting. Officially, guys, the Tesla 3-to-1 split got approved and is going to effect on August 25th. So this might not be important right now, but it's very important as we start to head closer to that date. We really want to pay attention to Tesla. So nice to get through that shareholder meeting last week, get that information, get the split approved, get the date, and now we really get to size up any good pullbacks in Tesla and any important moves that might take place, whether it's leading into it or after it. Who knows? Splits are always fun. And then had a little bit interesting news last week that I actually saw this weekend. And because, Coin has earnings on Tuesday, really want to pay attention to them because they had some news last Thursday where they actually partnered with BlackRock, which in my opinion is pretty large news. There's a pretty good move in the stock. We could take a look at this later, but this is something as that after they report earnings, just very curious what they report, what they say, what it does to the market, and more importantly, how does this catalyst kind of continue to unfold? And then we also, guys, had the Senate pass some clean energy bill, which is very good for, EV stocks, solar stocks, such as things like FSLR. They've had a really good day in the last few days, leading into this. So definitely a little catalyst that we can discuss a bit later. And then on Monday morning, right before the bell, we kind of had the big dagger for tech. And this really, guys, could shake up, what we see the rest of the week. But NVIDIA came out here and, kind of talked about their Q3 revenue and what they see. They haven't reported yet. We're waiting on that. So this is kind of some bad guidance, but they see revenue, guys, of 6.7 billion with an estimate of 8.38 billion. So that is a very, very bad miss. This came out this morning, obviously dropped the market here, guys, pre-market, dropped NVIDIA, which we'll cover. But this is just something very interesting where they came out ahead of time. They're talking about these things. They're giving a little bit of a warning. And it's always important, guys, why did they say this so early? Are they going to price it in? Are they going to get it out of the way? Or is it just good to know and we'll get back to business? So I thought that was interesting to start the week. Time will tell. But I want to dive in, guys, and just share two major setups with you. I want to talk about NVIDIA, kind of correlate that the move that happened, where it currently sits and where it could go. And then I want to talk about Shopify. And obviously, we'll talk about the indexes here. So just starting with the indexes, team, we've had a very, very large move, right? And again, I encourage us all to understand that we're going to have these nice large moves when we have a bear market. And all they simply do, just like this last one and just like these last ones, is they put us back to major, major spots where large moves happen. And from here, of course, guys, anything is possible. So if we just dive in, guys, to this intraday chart here, kind of just keep it basic and talk about what's in front of us. We have some good major zones ahead. And last week, we really didn't make any progress. We actually kind of had a stalemate. We had some economic data, we had some things to get towards, and the market didn't really do too much. We had a big pop last, 2 Fridays ago, which got us, guys, above, call it just this 4,100 range. We got towards that, put in that low of 4081, and we've really done a good job ever holding ever since that. We kind of topped out last week at this major zone, and then we pulled back and retested that Friday low, found our feet, and then started to break out through those newer highs. continue guys to reject a zone. And honestly, we did that all week until we kind of sold off on Friday, putting us right back in the middle like nothing ever happened. From here, guys, we started to build a little bit of structure that I want to keep an eye on for this week, right? We had kind of that same, low from 2 Fridays ago, where we'll take a look at NQ in a little bit, but they were the only index to put in a higher low. So this is technically ES's first higher low ever since we've kind of gotten to this range. So obviously, want to pay attention to how that develops. You guys can see here today, we were looking nice and strong. We were starting to rally, break out on Monday morning, and then we had that NVIDIA news. We'll dive in a little bit intraday, but long story short, guys, that dropped us right back underneath these ranges, right back underneath kind of the bottom portion of this zone. So from here, guys, I know we're all looking for potentially a healthy pullback, and I really want to see if we can get one. Right around these ranges, we have this 4120, which is a new point of control. Whenever we start the new month, I really like to pay attention to these levels. So heading into the rest of the week, guys, this is right around our structure for tomorrow, Tuesday session. And we'll see if, these next few days here, do we drift down towards that, find our feet and work our way back up? Do we find our way, guys, towards that structure and then break it down? And if we do start to break down, I want to target that 4100 and then specifically this 4081, which just haven't been able to break that ever since getting above it. And if we do start to break it, we have that reversion to the mean, which I know everyone's looking for here. So maybe it'll be a little too obvious, but it's always something we can bank on once things start to change. So that's kind of my general thoughts here, team. Maybe the market just kind of sells off into our CPI. Maybe we pull back, we get our CPI, and then we rally. Maybe we just consolidate, we get our information, and maybe we implode. But long story short, guys, something has to unfold where if we do not break back above these key levels, and we tried to break out today, and that 4189 was personally my next target, and we got stuffed right at it. If we can get back through that, I see 4212 and 4260, but that's a heck of a mission currently, right? Do we near structure, find our feet, or break down 4100, 4080-ish, reversion to the mean? So that's my thoughts, guys. I hope that makes sense. We'll kind of see what this week, brings. But honestly, from trader to trader, my best advice, especially being a day trader, is make sure you guys are having no bias right now and just kind of, ebbing and flowing with the market. Because right now, technically still have a lot to do to make up our mind with what direction we go. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Well, let's dive into NQ here. So as I mentioned, guys, NQ is the only index that started to give us a higher low from last week. So I want to continue to pay attention to this because the old saying, guys, right? Tech leads us up, can lead us down. The strongest is the strongest and is also going to be the weakest. So again, if we look at 2 Fridays ago, we had that new low created. Every other index, guys, on that Tuesday hit that low where tech did not. So it gave us its first higher low. And this is something, guys, that I want to continue to target this week, right? Whether it be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we got to deal with the structure here at some point and see what the market does. So long story short here, guys, right? NVIDIA had that negative news today. NVIDIA is part of tech. Down goes tech. Let's see if they drive to the downside. From here, guys, that little breakout point of last week is roughly around a point of control level from last month, which is 13,081. Very big level where we supported last Friday and are slowly working our way back down here today. So again, next few days here, guys, I want to pay attention to that 13,081 and to that structure. It all kind of aligns here as we head into the end of the week. Do we near these levels and find our feet? If we do, our current point of control is right around 13,271. So again, could be another magnet to just keep us in this little chop range. If we bounce and if we work our way back to green. If we get through it here, team, just want to follow the roadmap to zones above. But here is where we'll get the trigger, right? The goal right now, and I feel this is the goal for every trader, or at least should be, is patiently waiting, guys, to see if we're going to just consolidate and continue higher, or if we're going to get a sense and a start and call it a trigger to a healthy pullback, right? Whether you're a bull or a bear, guys, we could benefit from a decent little pullback. So in my opinion, these things start to happen, guys, when we finally start to top out and then potentially break structure. But until we break structure, we could just keep going or again, keep consolidating. So if we can break down, guys, roughly call it 1,300-ish this week, 13,000, we'll see, guys, if we break down, go back to those levels and revert to the mean. right? That 2 Fridays ago low that we're building that structure off of is right around, guys, where the daily mean is. So if we do break these key levels, that's a very good target. Vice versa, if we keep holding, we could chop, we could rip, one step at a time. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Want to move on here with VIX. And want to continue to talk about this, guys, because as the market's at major levels, we're having our first decent rally in a little bit. I encourage you to always go take a look at volatility and understand that it really helps, paint a big picture and, you know, really keep in perspective what's happening in the market. Where last time, guys, right, the structure that I'm referring to here is from beginning before this year even started. We started to give guys just these major higher lows on VIX, and the last big reset for the market, guys, was back in that early March, end of April, where all we did was fall back towards that structure, find our feet, and then work our way all the way back to where VIX continues to fail. And so with this new recent biggest pop that we've seen, we topped out, guys, where we should, and we've dropped back to technically a really good place where the market can now decide, does VIX want to continue to break this bigger picture structure in reverse? If it does, then the market, guys, can really keep moving and grooving. But right here, and I'm going to continue to say this until it makes up its mind, we're just very vulnerable, straight up. Anything can happen. We can have news, we can roll off the highs, whatever it might be. Until this really starts to see a push towards 20 and 18, guys, be prepared for anything. So taking all of what I just said into consideration, if VIX continues to base, guys, around these ranges and works its way to 25, we'll be getting a nice pullback. And that pullback will really start to turn into aggressive selling when we start to get near that 25 and potentially start to crack through it. So until then, team, be very mindful as we're around here. And again, understanding that the bull case would need 20 to 18. So that's my thoughts here, guys. Just want to bang out 2 quick setups. And of course, let's start here with NVIDIA. What a picture. So if we zoom out, guys, on NVIDIA, long story short, this was a setup that I had coming into the week already that I wanted to pay very close attention to, where again, chips have been very, very weak here these past few months. And of course, like the rest of the market, are going to play catch up. And they play catch up, guys, back to the last big spot that they consolidated and fell off a cliff. So they just grind. And I find it really funny, team, that even companies themselves use big zones to release news. They let it get there, it gets there, fine. Let's tell them the bad news. Get it over with. So for NVIDIA here, guys, I want to pay close attention to a few major key levels. Let me get out my pen. So if we look at NVIDIA here, guys, watching a few just trend lines and structure, where if we take that big major low from 140 and kind of extend it to its recent little low, that gives us a really, bigger picture structure to start to observe, which roughly would put NVIDIA around 160, at least in the next few sessions here. Coming into this week, I also want to observe some sharper structure. We're taking this key wick here and attaching it to here, seeing again if we could kind of top out, start to trend down a little bit, and then reach that structure. Well, of course, we reached that structure in a very extreme fashion, destroyed it, and fell right to the daily 21, which is right at 176. So from here, guys, this is going to be an important one because they've dropped it to liquidity. And now do they buy it back? Do they consolidate it? Or is this the one that's going to lead downside? And in my opinion, we need to pay attention, especially with negative news. I think the news, guys, is going to work in 2 ways here, right? They got it off of the lows. They drove it up quite a bit. They've released the news that quote unquote called a healthy spot. And let's see what type of pullback happens, right? Do we go all the way back to new lows? Maybe not right away. So again, maybe they release it here, makes a healthy pullback, and then just gets back to, whichever direction it's going to go. But I think, again, it could be a really good compass or a phenomenal trade here. And, we'll review the price action a little deeper in a second. But long story short, guys, for NVIDIA, next few days here as we head into CPI at least, in my opinion, under 177-ish, right? Big zone right here. We've always found a little bit of, support and resistance. If we stay under there, which also has the daily 21 right in that range as well, in my opinion, guys, next stop is the 50-day simple, which currently is right around 170. A very good inflection point in the past. We've seen a lot of few good, interactions here recently. that becomes a really good target. If we break that, my friends, right, want to also target this little zone here. So call it 165 to 170 is truly my first target. And then my second target on NVIDIA would actually be, guys, getting towards that 160 structure, right? Whether it be any point this week, it is going to be roughly near that zone, that 160 to 162. So that's personally as my target. Am I looking to buy any dip on NVIDIA right now? Absolutely not. I would rather watch it completely reverse this than assume that it's going to. So one of my favorite setups here, team. We'll see if the news gets any worse, if they just quickly price this in, or who knows. But I really like the idea of if under 177, shorting to the 50, getting to that structure as kind of a massive final target. And then another setup here, guys, is Shopify, where Shopify has just been one of the most classic textbook, ways to trade. I've talked about this quite a bit here, so I'll make it short, but Shop, guys, is just the classic, supply and demand, where if you buy it at 30 and sell it at 40, you truly can make a career until those things change. And again, it's very important, guys, to understand why these things are happening. Big money is making this happen, and they're making it happen for a reason, right? They're repeatedly doing something over and over and over. You have to realize it'll be very hard for them to change their mind. Meaning, I don't really care why you drop here, right? This was a big sell-off into earnings. They picked it up and a huge rip back. So again, you might be, wow, this thing is exploding. I'm not shorting this. I'm not telling you to be the first guy in. But point is, guys, expect it to stop here, regardless of how fast it got here. And Shop, of course, has done it again. They rejected guys at level twice, even rejected it today, and starting to bleed nicely. So again, I want to assume, guys, that Shop's going to continue to get that selling pressure right around that 40 plus range. And I want to take advantage of it until the day it does not do it anymore. It might do it 60 times. I might walk my grandkids through this setup. Who knows? But I'm going to rinse and repeat it until it truly does not work. So first Shop here, guys, watching a few extra things besides that. All right, we have that major zone of 42.49, which we've rejected once, twice, three times, only let it through once pre-market. That's big money saying no, no, no. Underneath the guys at 41 is a pretty large level as well. That's our current point of control, and that's also the bottom of this key zone. So I really enjoy that level. You guys can see I was watching a little bit of structure here from where we opened on earnings to just these recent little pullback. That was kind of what I wanted to target for this thing rolling over. You can see it failed nicely today. We started to trend down from the highs, stuff that key level in structure, sell off right to it nicely. So again, in my opinion here, team, and you can kind of zone out this trend line for now. But if we can just get a little bit of a pop back towards these ranges, back towards structure and zone, that could be a really good place to short. If you're not currently short, looking to take it back down to the daily 21, which is currently 37-ish. Underneath that, got the 50-day simple. Again, team, I want to assume that if it keeps failing here, it can work its way to 30. Doesn't mean it does it in 1 week or 1 day, but if we keep stopping and we keep turning and market supportive, at least expect guys to pull back to the middle. That's what it's done over and over. From the middle, can work its way to the secondary spot. But from here, team, if you can get another entry this week, is definitely one of my favorite setups. But that's my thoughts, guys, for this week. Again, we got some major catalysts. We got some major levels. We're kind of pulling back into the middle. Just got, a little tight focus here. And I actually want to cover Apple real quick before I move on. So again, guys, I always like to use Apple as a compass. It's not necessarily my favorite stock to trade, given, the option premium. I'm a little bit of a premium junkie. So if it doesn't move, 2 to 15, it doesn't wake me up. Jokes aside, but for Apple, guys, it's a tremendous compass. You need to watch it, right? Especially if you trade things like I do, which are primarily big tech names, big household names. Apple's going to have a lot to do with how those move because it's a big household name. One big compass, guys, I've been using recently, and I've shared with you, is if Apple is under 150-ish, then the market can continue to get shorted. What does that mean? It means the day Apple holds 150, the market can rally. Apple held 150 a few weeks ago. Guess what? Apple explodes. So I want to continue to watch, guys, the big titans of the market. They will lead up and they will lead down. When, weather is bad, they are the first to run. When the weather's looking decent, they're the first to head back outside and play, to give you a weird analogy. So if we look at Apple here, I want to watch a few things, guys. Just as a compass, feel free to trade it. Big pop on earnings, got Apple above a monster key level that if you go and look at their daily chart, defends quite often. It is very hard for Apple to lose the 200-day simple, which is currently around 159-ish. We got through it, guys, on earnings and topped out nicely at earnings high. Pulled back near the 200 and held. Finally broke out, gave us some new resistance. And as you guys can see, taking that little baby zone, Apple's just continuing to hold it nicely. So for Apple here, team, if they stay in the middle of 167 and 164, expect a chop fest. If Apple breaks out and heads towards its next major level of 170-ish, they can explode and help the market. If Apple breaks below this zone, team, it's going to help trigger a pullback in the market. Doesn't mean we implode, doesn't mean the bear market's back, but it will help trigger a pullback. Where if it's not, be careful. And my target, guys, is the 200. And the same logic applies. The day Apple loses the 200 could be a very bad sign for technology. It might never lose it again. The point is, when things change, we pay attention. So keep an eye on Apple, guys. But I hope you enjoyed that little quick prep. Hope you enjoyed my setups. And yeah, put them to good use here, team.
Hey, Focus Chain here with Simpler Trading. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything that we do. And if you want to see us trade our money live in real time, go to simplertrading.com and you can sign up for more. But happy trading, guys. Stay focused. I'll talk to you in the next video.